What if you want to make basic shapes that are more organic, not symmetrical? So this is what we're going to go over next. And the tools we're going to use are the paintbrush and the pencil tool. And we'll quickly review the blob brush, but I don't think we're going to use it in this tutorial. So first we're going to start off with the paintbrush. If you want a thin line to have a certain kind of stroke to it, a thin organic line to have certain kind of stroke, the paintbrush is probably what you want to start with. So I'm going to choose the paintbrush tool, and then I'm going to open up the brushes panel. Under window, kind of where we change the whole workspace, we can open up any of these panels to see unique features in Adobe Illustrator. We're going to go to brushes, and we're going to attach the brushes panel on the side. The icon looks like a cup filled with brushes. Now, what the brush panel allows you to do is select a brush and use it to draw with. There are lots of brushes preloaded in Adobe Illustrator. To see them, go to the book, go to any brush library that you want to, and click on it, and you'll see all the different brushes that you have already kind of preloaded in Adobe Illustrator. And I'm seeing if any of these might be, and you flip through the different books. And none of these that we've gone over so far, even though there are a lot of them, are quite right for the stump of a tree. So to make my own custom shape, I'm going to go to the polygon tool, and I'm going to draw a triangle. You have to make it completely straight. I do not want it to be filled with a dark color, and I do not want this triangle to have any stroke. So I'm going to go to stroke and make sure that is set to none. Next, I'm going to grab the triangle and move it into the brush panel and create an art brush. I want the direction of to be in line with the triangle, and I want to set colorization mode to hue shift. This will allow me to change the shape of the color of the brush. If I do it as a tint or shades, I'll only be able to make it lighter and darker. But hue shift will allow me to change it to whatever color I like later. And then I'm going to size it way down. I do a very large triangle. If you do a smaller triangle, you might not need to size it down. If you do a very, very small triangle, you might even need to size it up. Click OK. So now I'm going to zoom in. Actually, now I'm going to delete the triangle that I drew because I don't need it anymore. I'm going to go to my brush and draw in. It's exactly how, it's almost how I want it, but it's still a little bit thick for my taste. So I'm going to double click this brush and size it down even more. You see that I'm just drawing limbs for what will become a tree. Once I feel like I've drawn enough limbs, you might notice that all of these tips don't quite line up. One kind of trick that I've learned to make all the tips of these line up is to select them all and put them all in the same location. I could do that manually with the direct selection tool. I can grab them and move them around until it tells me that they're all lined up. I'm going to go into outline mode by hitting Command and Y on my keyboard, or by going to View and choosing Outline. This will allow me to see the lines that I'm moving around just a little bit better. And remember, I'm just trying to get all those anchor points to line up into the same position. Excellent. And now I'm going to go out of outline mode by going to View and choosing Preview. Now what will also affect it is a little bit of how it enters into, or the curve of that path as it comes in. I think that's very good. So I like that tree trunk, but I don't like the color of it. That is not tree color. So I'm going to select all of my paths and change them to a brown trunk color. Just the stroke of those lines change the color of the stroke. Next, I'm going to draw in some leaves around it. So I said we're going to change from the paintbrush to the pencil tool. If I drew the paintbrush, I could draw the shape, but this would only be the outline, and then I would have to fill it in constantly, and this could take lots of time, and whoever I was working for might get very upset that I was wasting lots of time drawing in shapes when there's a function that will do that automatically. So I'm going to back up and I'm going to go to the pencil tool, and I'm going to do kind of the same kind of motions, but when you're drawing a continuous shape, the pencil tool will allow it to automatically be filled with color, whereas the brush tool will cause you to have to redraw it over and over again. And to fill it with color, now I just fill it with color. And I don't want it to have a stroke, so I'm going to remove the stroke and then send it behind all of the limbs. I'm going to go to Properties panel and Arrange and Send to the back. That's a little bit too far, it's even behind the sky, so I'm going to go to Arrange and not Send to the back or the front. I'm going to bring it one level forward. I'm going to keep doing that until it's where I want it to go. Now, half of this I like a lot, and half of it I don't like a lot. This side I like a lot. This side has some spots that I'm not crazy about, particularly in this area over here. So I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to redraw those. I'm going to go back to the pencil tool, and I'm going to double click on it. I'm going to make sure that it's set to edit the paths that are selected. I'm going to move it to edit a lot. This one, I'm going to move it all the way up or almost all the way up. And then click OK. And now I'm going to start by tracing the old line, but draw a new line. I did not do a good job there. Try again. And you saw that it redrew the line after I traced it. I wasn't crazy about this part over here by the trunk either, so I'm going to redraw that area. And that's a lot better. And you can continue to redraw areas and kind of just go around your tree. And as long as you are close to the original line, it will redraw the path to fit your new strokes. If you get too far away, it will not connect back to the original path. You have to be somewhat close to it to have it redraw and edit that original path. You see that even that was a little bit too far away from me. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some highlights to this. So I'm going to click this shape, and we're going to use a function. Everything else we've been drawing has been, every time we draw a new shape, it's been layering it on top of the original shape. But now I'm going to do something that's similar to the clipping path that we did, clipping mask that we did on the very beginning. So we're going to select this shape, and we're going to switch this to draw inside mode. Now everything I draw will be inside this shape. So now I'm going to switch to my blob brush. And the blob brush is kind of a lot like the pencil, tool. I'm going to switch to a lighter color. And you'll see that with the blob brush, as I draw, it draws. Let's try to select that shape again. There we go. With the blob brush, as I draw, it creates a continuous shape. So the blob brush is a lot like the pencil tool, but you notice how big the blob brush is. So the blob brush doesn't create the outline of the shape, it actually creates everywhere you drag that, it creates a new shape for that. So I could have also, whenever you're doing a continuous shape, the blob brush is another method that will allow you to create that continuous shape. Back up quite a bit. Let's say I didn't want some of this. I kind of went crazy with my highlights and did some highlights on the bottom part where it should be more shadowy. So I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to hold Option. Actually, I'm going to switch from the blob brush to the eraser tool. And the eraser tool erases parts that I don't want to have. I'm going to have to be, but I'm accidentally erased a little bit of things I didn't want to affect. So to make sure that I only erase parts of this one shape, I'm going to double click on it until I get into complete isolation mode. You'll be able to see that you're in isolation mode because everything else will go gray. And once you're in isolation mode, you don't have to worry so much about accidentally erasing something because the only things you'll be able to affect are the things that you have isolated. And now I can go through and kind of easily erase the parts that I wanted to erase. All right. So you're going to have to redraw your tree. You can even redraw grass if you'd like to in front of the house as well. If you draw grass, again, you'll use a paintbrush. Choose your brush and make it. Now, as you can see, this grass is way too thick. I can go to my double click, make it even smaller. But when I hit OK, what I don't want to, I want to leave the other strokes alone. I don't want to affect all those other strokes on this side. And now, I'll draw it. I can draw grass. That will be in front of my house. And add. So after you've drawn grass, the last thing is we want to cut this out into an organic shape. So I'm going to, again, take my pencil tool. I'm going to draw one shape that I'm going to just use to cut this shape away. Ooh, that's not quite right. And make sure it stays inside the border of. Then with shape, select everything and do clipping mask and make, cut it away.